the Road to Tokyo series. We sit down with Xendurance pro athletes to talk shop on their road to the Olympics, what they do outside of training, and more.
Hey everyone, welcome to Team XND's podcast. I'm Jason St. Clair, I'm one of the owners, and today I'm actually today's host and get the opportunity and pleasure to interview Laura Roesler. Laura, thanks for joining me.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be a part of this new series. I need to listen to the new one that dropped. It was today, right? The first one?
Yeah, the first one was Robin Bone. So, Canadian pole vaulter. Lived here for a while. And then I think she's in Georgia now.
Yeah, I think she trains with Katie Najee. Who is really cool, really nice. So, it's a good training partner for her. Ability killing it.
Yeah, so first one, and then yours will probably roll out, I think, in March or April.
Cool.
So they're kind of a few weeks behind. But anyway, thanks for joining me. I have to introduce you because your resume is just quite impressive. Actually, I obviously have known you since 2014, but going back and looking at it, it's just more impressive. So Laura is a 22-time North Dakota State champion. College, this is even more impressive. 5-time NCAA champion, 18-time All-American, 3-time Pac-12 champion. Let me start with high school really quick. 22-time North Dakota State championship. How is that even possible?
Yeah, I get that question a lot. I can see you now.
I know, my camera works. Yeah. Because aren't you only allowed to be in like 4 events in the state championship?
Yes. Well, I don't know about how it works for all states, but North Dakota, yes, you're only allowed 4 events, whether it's relays or individual. But North Dakota is one of the states, I don't know how many states do this. Some of the sports, you can be a varsity athlete from 7th grade. So I know North Dakota swimming, cross country, track and field. I don't know what other sports you could be moved up, maybe like tennis or something. Something that's a good team sport, but you do your own thing too. So I started actually cross country at the high school in 7th grade. I was on like JV or junior high or whatever, but the end of the year, the end of the cross country season, I got moved up to varsity the last few meets, and I ended up placing 2nd at the state meet as a 7th grader. I was 12. So then they were like, okay, like you should do track. And they didn't really want me to compete like for the 7th grade, whatever, the middle school track team or whatever.
Right.
So they stuck me on the varsity team from 7th grade. And so I had 6 years to compete at the varsity level for cross country in high school. So I ended up accumulating titles that way. I had more time than most people get 4 years. I had 6.
Still, that's amazing. That's really impressive. So North Dakota, are you born and raised there?
Mm-hmm. Born and raised in Fargo. Didn't leave till I left for college, but I was ready to get out of the winter because it's brutal, man.
It is. What's Fargo known for? Besides, I think there's a movie and TV series.
The movie and the TV show, with people thinking that we talk like, oh yeah, you betcha, don't you know, oofta.
Yeah.
We don't talk like that. We may use those phrases, but that's not how we sound.
So born and raised in North Dakota, obviously it's cold, and it's not a state you would think you'd be a runner. So how did that develop for you?
I don't really know. I did a lot of activities growing up. So I'm a twin. I have a twin brother, Kyle. I'm 6 months older. Whoop, whoop. And whatever he was doing, and like little boys, they just go crazy. So whatever he was doing, I wanted to be into it. So him and his friends, I'm like, I want to play whatever you're doing. I want to chase you guys around, do what you're doing. So I just was really active and realized I was pretty fast. So, when you're little, I was like, oh, I can beat all the boys. You're on the same playing field. And then I ended up in soccer and things like that. And I was fast. And the best part to me about the sports, and I suppose soccer especially, was running and beating people to the ball and being faster than people. And so that's why in 7th grade, I started in 7th grade at 12, pretty young in cross country. So it's running's kind of my thing. And from there on out, the rest is history. I didn't go back.
So you did cross country, and then it obviously evolved to track in your career. What events did you run? You did cross country, but in track, what events did you run in high school?
They started me in like the distance events, so like the 800 and the 400 when I first started out. And I actually, the reason I have all the titles, I ended up running the 100 through probably the mile, but I was mostly running the 100, 200, 400, and 800. So those are the events I have my state titles in, and I'm like not a 100-meter runner. I guess I can get away with it in North Dakota. 200 too. Like I'm not. That's not my no. But I could kind of get away with it living in North Dakota. But yeah, I ran the 100 through the 800. I ran the mile maybe only a couple times during track season. I didn't even really I got to run on the relays to run fast and get the qualifier time or whatever. I never got to run the relays at state. So yeah, I was kind of a sprinter in high school. Now when I do hard workouts, I'm like, I really wish I did stick with the 100. Like, their stuff looks a lot more fun. They're going like short sprints. I'm doing like thousands. Like,
yeah. So you listeners, Laura's a middle distance runner, which to me is very impressive. Anything over 400 is like kill me. So that's pretty impressive. So walk us through high school. Then you went to Oregon, which is one of the most prestigious track, obviously places to run track. So how'd you end up selecting Oregon?
The college process honestly was pretty stressful for me. I'm sure it's even more stressful now with like technology and social media and like, I'm sure the kids get hounded, but just with like the calls and all that, I have like for months and you get letters and it just felt like a lot. And I'm like, I'm 17. I have no idea where I want to go. Like I know nothing about institutions and college classes or any of that. So you kind of like are starting out blind, like you really have no idea. And I honestly just from the letters and who I talked to on the phone and weather-wise too was a big thing for me. I narrowed it down to like my top 5 like right away. And those are the schools I visited. So I went on 4 or 5 visits, I think. But I ended up picking Oregon because a couple of the schools I was looking at was a little cold. And a couple of them had really big teams, which is fine. But I was just kind of like, this is overwhelming. I grew up in North Dakota. My girls team had like, my little group had like 20 people, like, and then to go to a team of 100 felt like I'd kind of get like lost in the shuffle. And so Oregon felt like they had a really good balance. Their men's and women's teams were like not separated, which I liked. I liked being able to interact with the guys too. And then because I was coming from the sprint side, I met with both the sprint and distance coaches, and they like had a really good plan for how they wanted to coach and train me, not just like throw her into cross country and run a bunch of miles or like throw her into the sprints and don't do any. They had a good idea of how they were going to balance it, which was important because, I'm not moving down and I don't have all like the distance of the distance people. I was coming as a sprinter, but more like a true middle distance runner. So there was definitely a balance, and they seemed like they had dealt with that before and had the best idea of how to help me improve and go forward.
Sure. Now, were your parents part of that process to help you make that decision?
Oh yeah. They, my mom helped me with like writing pros and cons lists. My mom went on a few visits with me. I had some home visits, so they got to meet the main coaches of the schools I was going to visit, which was nice. Of course, at that time I was still like a dependent. And so I took my parents, like I needed their help, and I took all their advice into huge consideration, as I still do now. And I'm like old, but they were very helpful. I mean, by the end of the process, I was like just strung out in tears. Like I wanted to be over with, like, I don't know. And all my mom really had to do was ask me, Laura, do you want to go to Oregon? I'm like, yeah. And then that was it.
Yeah. That's awesome. So if we have any young listeners on here or parents of track athletes that maybe have an opportunity to go run track, or I guess college for any sport, what advice would you give to those athletes or parents?
Let's see. I would say, if you don't feel like, I've had people ask me like, how do I get coaches and schools to notice me? And I'm like, you don't necessarily have to go out and be like a high school phenom and run like, 50 seconds in the 400 as a female to like get attention from schools. They're not just looking for those people. And like, you can reach out. I tell people you can reach out to schools yourself and start the process and be proactive and that kind of thing. But I advice for people like trying to just keep working hard, I would say. And the parents, just be aware. My parents were very aware of like all the letters and calls and making sure it wasn't like taking away from my high school experience and what I wanted to do. Because at some point you're going to be so stressed out about where you want to go to school or your dream school and how like what level you have to be at or what level you have to perform at to get into your dream school, that you're just like, time's going to pass you by. You're not even going to do well your senior season or enjoy it or whatever, because you're so worried about the future. I think things, just kind of let them play out. If you work hard, coaches see that. I mean, the college coaches are super experienced. They're going to see if you're a hard worker, if you have talent, if you're going to be a good fit for their team. You know, they're not just looking for the person who can run super fast, because that's not always the right fit.
Absolutely. Well, great answer. Appreciate that.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get into your career at Oregon, because it's super impressive. Obviously, 5-time NCAA champion, 18-time All-American, and 3-time Pac-12 champion. So what was that experience like for you at Oregon? Because I know you can, obviously coming from the Midwest and, you know, a small school, I'm sure, than going to Oregon. What was that experience like for you?
Well, when I first picked Oregon, I remember telling my coach, my mom and dad, like, oh, you know, I can't wait to get to Oregon, like all these big stars. I can kind of feel like I can be under the radar. Because, of course, coming from North Dakota, and once I became a senior in high school and I had a bunch of state titles, I mean, people knew who I was. And, you know, I couldn't go to a track meet and not feel like people were like staring at me, just expecting me to like win by, you know, a mile. And I'm like, those expectations were just like, they're just crushing. Like my senior state meet was so stressful. So when I got to Oregon, I was like, oh, this is gonna be great. You know, there's so many superstars. I'm gonna be able to like get better, learn from them, you know, watch them. Because when I got on the team, like Jordan Hasay, Tyson Eaton was on the team. I don't remember if Ashton was still on the team or not. I think Andrew Weeding had just graduated. We had Amber Purvis, Jimmy Youngblood. Like we had like such good people. And you know, it's a little overwhelming at first. Yeah. Because I went in my freshman year before school started in the fall. Oregon starts so late. I went to cross country camp. And, you know, that's like a cross country camps are a thing, which I wouldn't know who, you know, I'm not a true cross country runner, but, so I went up to camp in Bend and it was intense. I'm like, I'm also not a distance runner. I'm like, these girls are so good, you know? But I got to sit down at camp and meet with the whole staff. And that's when we kind of decided what our plan was going to be for me, just from coming from the sprint side and whatnot. And so when I got to school, I started working with Coach Johnson and the sprinters. And that was also a brand new thing. So I'd never really been trained as a sprinter, doing like 30 flies and standing starts and heavy weights and all that stuff. But it was really cool because we had like the sprinters, the jumpers, the hurdlers, the short sprinters, long sprinters, like, and then a few middle distance people all in one group, men and women. So it's just really fun to get to see just a total diverse group of people every day and different events. So it never felt like, especially for me, because no one else was really running the 800 in my group, never felt like super competitive, like, you know, just people getting at each other's throats at practice. So, you know, it was a really good experience. And Coach Johnson and Marisa Powell, who was also my coach at Oregon, had a really good plan for me, just not just a 1-year plan, a 4-year plan of how I was going to get better in the 800, but develop my speed and then start developing my strength. And I mean, honestly, like you said, all Americans and all that, it speaks for itself. I progressed very well. Ended up NCAA champion my senior year, and that, you know, that was the plan. And you know, I felt like I got a lot better, a lot more comfortable in my own skin, a lot more comfortable as an athlete. And I just picked the perfect school for me.
Totally. Became a superstar. So who's your roommate at Oregon?
Courtney Ross, shout out a fellow Xendurance athlete, Courtney Ross. She's a pole vaulter. We roomed together freshman year, and then we roomed together again my junior year, and then she transferred to San Diego. But she's the best. Yeah, and she's actually been killing it out of college. She was good in college, but now she's just been crushing it. So 2020 is the year.
I had the pleasure of interviewing her a couple weeks ago, right before Christmas, and I didn't know her story in detail, but how amazing her story was. And then come to find out she was, your roommate. And then, we also have Sarah Whipple with us too. So, and then Travis Thompson, who does a lot of our photography and video editing along with Andrew. So it's pretty cool. All you guys coming from Oregon. But Courtney's story was
it's
great.
a good group of people. Yeah. They're good people.
Yeah. So Oregon, you became a superstar, and you then in 2014, this is when I met you, in Arizona receiving the Bowerman Award. For those of you that are not familiar with the Bowerman Award that are listening, it's the annual track and field award that's the highest accolade given to the year's best student athlete in American collegiate track and field. What did that award mean to you?
I mean, it was totally like unexpected to even be up for the award. I had been on like the watch lists during the year, but for me, we always have such high expectations of ourselves. For me, it always felt like I was never ever going to win that award just because I'm like, this is how my season was supposed to go. These are my expectations. I'm like, I'm not doing anything special here, but it's very humbling. And honestly, it took a while for me to like look back and reflect on it, but I guess this is a good advice for anyone. Like, really appreciate your hard work that you do, and especially when it pays off. And that's kind of like what that moment was for me. It's like, you know what, you did work hard and you did earn this, and your hard work paid off, and it's pretty special. Not so much as to be like, oh, I won the Bowerman, I won this award, I won that award, but just to feel like I got to have my family there, and they've been a part of this journey. So it was just kind of felt like I could celebrate the journey and everything that I did in college and all the ups and downs, and it makes it all worth it.
Yeah. See, but what's more super impressive to me is the student side of it. So you obviously had to be a great student, along with the high preparation of training to be a superstar, at track and field. So you're a good student. Walk me through that. Like, did you love school? Did you hate school? Was it easy for you?
I was a really good student. School, I'd say high school wasn't that bad. And it prepared me well for college, but that's because I'm very very type A, like OCD, I guess, perfectionist, as are most driven people, we have that own, our like internal voice that's just like, do, go, go. So, at high school, I ended up taking 2 AP classes my senior year, and it was brutal. AP Calc and AP Physics. And I am not a math or science person. So let me tell you, I was getting tutoring almost every day. I was like staying up late to study, getting up at 5 to do homework. Like, it was the worst. It was so hard. But that helped me so that in college I didn't have to take any math or science classes. So I got credit. Yeah. So college wasn't that bad. It's just a lot of busy work. Yeah. Like, when people would come back, seniors, the class before you, and come back and be like, college is so hard. I'm like, yeah, because you didn't apply yourself. Like, you didn't do the work in high school. So college wasn't that bad. It was important for me to get good grades. Just a lot of reading and writing, lots of papers. I can handle that. I want to say, actually, I got all A's and B's, which I was proud of. But my last class of college, I had to take, so I lied. I had to take a science class. It was for psychology. I'm a psych and social major. Yep. And it was like a hormones and behavior class for psychology. So you have to know what hormone releases from what, I don't even know, and where it goes and what it does. And I got a C in that class. And that was my first C ever, high school or college. And I'm still obviously very bitter.
Obviously, years later.
I'm I worked so hard for that C. I never in my life have worked so hard for a C. Not like school was easy, but if you do the work, you'll be fine. But I'm bad
so
memories.
What was your GPA? What was your GPA?
I want to say my ending GPA, and the funny thing is my dad just brought me my transcripts from college this year at Thanksgiving, because he's like, here, I have these, do you want them? And I'm like, yeah, sure, I guess, let's see what my grades were. And I think it was around a 3.5 overall GPA for the 4 years, so not bad. It wasn't a 4.0. I'm not a genius, but I felt like I worked hard for the 3.5, and I was happy with it.
That's still really good for college. And I was obviously being an athlete too. So, So after college, you obviously went pro. And, you see a lot of this with athletes once they, college superstar, then pro, and sometimes things start to happen, challenges and injuries. So how's your pro career been?
The pro career has been a little up and down, probably more down than up, but not really, because I'm still enjoying it. Down on the side of
Yeah,
having injuries and hardships in that way, but I'm still enjoying it. And honestly, in the last few years, I found like that fire and that passion for running. I've always had that fire and passion for running, but it kind of got reignited in the past few years. And I just love running again. And I never didn't love it, but like things come into
sure.
play, pressure and
Yeah,
all that kind of stuff. And I've really, really enjoyed training and at the professional level and racing and traveling and that kind of thing. I just have had bumps in the road in terms of injuries. I've had just mainly Achilles issues, and it's just like my Achilles is my Achilles heel.
yeah,
But I've been working on it. I feel good now. So for me, it's just train smart and get to the line healthy. My body feels good. I feel rested from the holidays. So it's going to be a good year, and I think me just enjoying what I'm doing and loving it is just well over half the battle. And so as long as I stay positive and do all that, I think things are going to go well.
absolutely. So you had a really good start to your pro career. I think 2018 was the start of that Achilles injury. Is that right?
I had honestly, it's been since college. I had
Has it?
I had a tear in my right Achilles in 2015. I didn't compete that year.
Yep.
And then in 16, I had little tears in both, but I competed. But I ran at the trials, but didn't make it out of the first round. That was pretty frustrating. But that's kind of when I took a big break and when everything kind of revitalized and I felt my passion really come back a lot. So it was probably a
Yeah.
blessing in disguise. And, since then it's just been a little minor, like tendonitis in those areas. So no major like breaks or tears. So I should be very thankful because,
Yeah.
actually over the course of my career, I've never broken a bone, fully torn or like tore off a hamstring or something. So I've been pretty fortunate. It's just little things that keep you from training 100%, which yes, we know as athletes is frustrating, but there are ways to work around it, and you got to treat your body well if you want to train at this
Yeah.
level. So
Absolutely. So I remember the last time I saw you run was 2018 at the Drake Relays, and I think that was your first race back where you became somewhat healthy, right?
yeah,
'Cause
I
you're
was
probably
at
still.
USA's in
Yep.
2018. Yeah,
Yep.
and I love running at Drake. I just
Yep.
I had some little tendonitis or something that like February or March. I didn't run all February, March, and so I was just behind. I had only like a couple of months before USA's, and I ran too flat in the semis and didn't make the final in 18.
Yeah.
And so I was like just a couple weeks behind, and like a couple more weeks, I probably would have been in the final and been in the mix. But I was just happy to be there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember how happy you were just to get in a good race,
Mhm.
from coming off that. So that's great. So what does this look like for you now going to 2020? Anything change in terms of your training, or anything different that you've done from, 2018, 19?
Not really. Just continuing to take in what we've learned about honestly continuing to take in what I've learned about recovery and rest and like implementing that. So just really trying to keep the body feeling good and firing on all cylinders. If I get a little sick, like back off. It's like
Back
not the
off, yeah.
year to not the year to like press into anything.
Right.
Less is more. That's kind of like how me and my coach like to think about it. So, when in doubt, we leave it out. If I'm feeling a little really sore from a couple days, then I'll just swim or do something else. So other than
Sure.
just being very mindful of all the little things, not a whole lot different. It's just the
That's
year you
great.
got to pay attention to all the details as you do
No,
every year, but
yeah,
even more so this year.
that's great advice there. You talked about recovery. What are some things that you do for recovery?
Well, I take all my Xendurance products, of course, which by the way, you're not going to be happy with me. I wasn't the best about doing it in Hawaii. And you
It's
can
okay.
totally tell. Mostly the supplements. And I was
Yeah.
on break, and you know how we are. We're like, I'm on break. And I got back on my regular routine now, but like I can already tell, like especially the supplements, especially the extreme endurance. Like
Yeah.
I don't take that in the summer when I take big breaks after competing. And when I start running again, oofda, that's an example where you can use the word oofda. Like it's the worst, but I can tell once I start like getting that into my system, oh, the runs just go so much better. So I use my Xendurance products. And before we got on the call, I just had my collagen that, I had to mix it with like some milk, but it was pretty good. But what else do I ice a lot? Mostly my lower legs, my lower extremities, just because that's where my problem areas are. Sure. And it's funny because when you get around like quote unquote normal people, and you I'll use my family as an example. They were here for Thanksgiving, and we went to the beach just so they could see the water. It's not obviously warm enough here to like go beaching right now, but I got in the water, and the water was probably like 67. So it wasn't that bad, but 67 is pretty cold if you're going to try to like get in the water. But after all this icing, being athletes, I'm like, oh, this feels like pretty good. And my family is like, it's freezing. So I'm like, I know all this icing all these years is paying off. It's like turning me into kind of like a warrior. So I'm all for that. And what else I do? I sit around a lot, which sounds like a lazy person thing to do, but it's harder than what people assume. Because people are always assuming, what do you do all day? Like you work out and then you just like sit around. And I'm like, well, some days, I do. Yeah. But like, it's harder than you think because there's a million things I need to do running through my head, but I also need to I need to relax. I need to rest and be off my feet. So the art of relaxing is harder than Americans are not good at it. So it's a lot harder than you think it is.
Especially if you're type A.
Yes, so I know. Totally I need to vacuum, or my car needs to be cleaned, or like I need to like go through emails. But also, that's also work too. So it's just like sometimes I need to sit, and I have a dog, so I'm like, okay, let's sit and hang with the dog because that'll force me to like relax. But I rest a lot. I go to bed early. I'm like 100 years old. I go to bed at like 8 or 9 p.m. That's embarrassing to admit, but like sleep is great. Sleep is so underrated.
No, that's so important. I actually just read a book, Essentialism, and one chapter specifically just about sleep and how important it is. So, I mean, you're right on the mark there. So I wasn't even going to ask you about Xendurance products, but now that we're on that topic, extreme endurance obviously is the game changer. When you get off of it, you can totally tell. Because like when people ask, I don't know if it's working, I changed my diet or got a new mattress, and just like get off of it, and then you'll notice in like a week, you'll know the difference. What are your favorite products besides extreme endurance?
I really like Fuel 5.
When do you use that? When do you use the Fuel 5?
Before or after? Most of the time after I work out, because I'll go, especially if I run from home, I'll just set my like stuff on the counter and I'll just go out and run so I can have it immediately. Right. I just mix the Fuel 5 or Fuel 5 Plus with protein. I prefer the chocolate protein because I'm a chocolate person through and through. So I mix those two together, and the collagen, or I'll have the collagen separately. The extreme endurance, of course. I'm trying to think what else I have. I like the hydration. Oh, I don't know why I'm forgetting the name of the hydro. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like the little sticks. First of all, they're so convenient, and I love grape. And I drink a lot of water already, but honestly, sometimes you want some flavor. And so it's nice. I mean, obviously the product is hugely benefiting for being hydrated, but also it's great because then I don't have to drink like 7 bottles of plain water. Yeah. I get like great flavored deliciousness. So. Yeah,
exactly. How about your diet? What does that look like as a professional athlete? How important is that to you?
Diet is definitely important. I've never been one to I don't even know how to count calories or look at this sounds bad, but I don't look at labels or any of that kind of stuff. I kind of think if I'm eating clean or making my own food, that's already half the battle. Like, because when you go out to eat or buy packaged things, who knows? Sure. So I eat all my meals at home. I definitely say breakfast is probably my most important meal because I'll die in the morning if I don't wake up and eat breakfast. I don't understand people who don't eat breakfast in the morning. Like, I'm like, I was just in bed for 10 hours and you're going to keep starving yourself till noon? Like, there's no way.
The intermittent fasting?
Yeah. So I eat immediately when I wake up. And then, I get the diet question, the nutrition question a lot. And honestly, I just like to say everything in moderation. Like,
Sure.
do I eat candy? Yes. Do I eat ice cream and cookies? Yes. Do I have French fries? Yes. But I also have salad and, chicken, rice, and veggies and a lot of water. I don't drink really anything other than water, and I don't drink soda. Like, it's all about, you can have a glass of wine or like whatever you want to do. It's just all about balance and portion sizes. I don't necessarily eat a lot at one time, but I eat a lot during the day.
Sure.
Yeah.
What does breakfast look like for you? What do you make for breakfast?
It depends. A lot of the time I drink this drink called Juice Plus. It's just like a morning drink, has vitamins and whole fruits and stuff in it. But or I'll cut up and I'll have yogurt with fruit on it and like a piece of peanut butter toast. I love peanut butter. And I used to, again, think like how everyone thinks, oh, peanut butter is so fatty, it's so bad for you. But like, no, peanut butter, it's good. Just don't have like half the jar.
It's so good.
I love peanut butter. And sometimes even, like I said, throughout the day for a snack, that's what I'll have. I'll go and have a very generous spoonful of peanut butter.
I made pancakes this morning. I put peanut butter and honey on it. It's like one of my favorites.
Yum. I love
protein
pancakes.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I was saying, I don't think pancakes is something you can have every day, but protein pancakes, why not? Again, moderation, balance.
Yeah, totally. One thing I like to ask athletes is, the injuries come, right? But also in challenges too. But how about mental struggles? Is there anything you particularly have dealt with mentally with your career running?
There's like a lot of different things. Of course, the injuries, like you said, but I truly believe injuries are always a blessing in disguise. You see people come out stronger the other side or more positive or just, a more of appreciation for what they do or what they get to do,
Sure. Like, are there any practices that you do to become mentally stronger, I guess? Because, everyone at your level is obviously athletically able to perform and be a gold medalist essentially, right? But it's that mental part that makes you and separates you as well. Is there anything you do to mental prep?
I visualize a lot, and not necessarily like, I started in high school, and actually our high school coach started us doing that, which is pretty cool and probably unheard of at the time. Like the day or two before a meet, we'd all go lay in a quiet room and close our eyes, and she'd walk us through the race, and we'd just be visualizing ourselves, but she'd be like, okay, we're 1K in, and this, she'd walk through the race talking. So that's actually good practice to learn how to visualize in high school. And so I still do the same thing. I visualize mostly the night before, because no one wants to like wake up and be thinking about their race, like every step of their race, the day of race day. So I'll visualize a lot. Before I warm up, just to stay calm, I actually read before I warm up when I get to a track meet. Because if you think about it, you can't do anything else when you're reading. You can't think about anything else, focus, concentrate. You don't hear anything, you have to process the words. So reading really helps because you just kind of get lost in whatever story or words you're reading. And I also like to tell myself, when I feel doubt or whatever, don't feel confident creeping in, I'm just like, control what I can control. Because that's all I can do. Like, you can't worry about how fit that girl looks or how well that girl's in racing, because I'm not her. And I can't control like the weather. I can only control myself. So I have to tell myself, like, believe in what I've been doing. I know I'm strong. I know all the training I've been doing. Or else you're just going to go down a rabbit hole.
No, that's great. That's great advice. That's amazing. I love that answer. What type of things do you like to read or books?
I mostly read, honestly, like thriller, like murder mystery books, but I read these because my mom reads a lot.
Yes.
She reads more than me, and she probably reads like 4 or 5 books a month. I'm telling you, the lady reads a lot. So she'll send me boxes of books. I literally have a whole nightstand full of books right now that I need to get working on. But yeah, mostly murder mysteries, whatever Mrs. Karen has to send me for the month. That's what I read.
That's awesome. So if you didn't run track, what would you want to do with your life for when you grow up? What do you want to be?
So when I was little, my answer to that would have been a vet.
Awesome.
And honestly, it would still be my answer had I gone to med school, but I don't know if I'm prepared when I'm done running to go back to school for like 6, 8 years, who knows?
Yeah.
I love animals, but so I think that one's out of the cards. But so I don't really know. I like just coaching would be interesting, and I think it'd be fun. I also feel like it'd be a lot of I'd put a lot of pressure on myself. Again, being type A, I'm like, it's in my hands to help these people grow and improve, and like that's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
But hopefully something involved in track and field, whether it's administrative or on the side or coaching or whatever it is. I truly love the sport. I've been a student of the sport. I keep track. I look at high school results, college results. I love track. So to be able to be around my passion and do something as my job that's involved with track, that would make me happy. That'd be a good life.
Right. So actually logistically too, you went from Oregon and I think you were in Georgia at one point, right? Training, and now you're in Florida.
Yeah. So when I moved from Oregon, I actually moved to Texas. That's where my coach lives. I lived in San Antonio for 2 years. Yeah. Yep. And then I moved to Georgia. I lived in Georgia for a year after that. And now I've been in Florida 2 years. You notice it's getting warmer every time.
Yeah. So you guys listening, when she was talking about the beach, she was in Florida. So that's why. Yeah. So would you stay in Florida when you're done there?
I've actually been thinking about that a lot. And of course I was just in Hawaii. So like, I feel like I'm very like biased, or my like viewpoint is skewed because I'm just like beach, sun, warm weather. Yeah. So in my head, staying here in the long term would be awesome, because I do love the weather and my house, my neighborhood, and the people here and the people I get to see where I go train at UNF. I love my little UNF family there. But it's also hard being so far from my family, and I don't feel like weather is the best justification to stay somewhere. But I'm like, can you guys all move like here? And we can all be close and it can be warm. I just can't do 6 months of winter and like a few months of under zero, and no.
Yeah, that's difficult. I don't know how anyone does that.
I mean, after coming back from Hawaii, I was like, I could live here.
Yeah.
It's just getting out of control. And like, eventually I'm going to reach somewhere where I can't get any warmer.
Yeah, I'm in Arizona. It was like 40 this morning. I'm dying. It's so cold.
I know it was 40 here this morning. And I was like, what? When I was in Hawaii, I woke up and put shorts on and went in the pool. So what are we doing here?
Do you watch movies ever?
I do. Not as much as I used to, but I do. Yes.
Do you have a favorite?
Oh man, I feel like I'm gonna get judged for this. I always feel my all-time favorite movie is Bruce Almighty.
That's
random. I know.
Jim Carrey's amazing.
That's why he's so hilarious. Dude, he's so funny in that movie. Or maybe it's just me. I love that movie. I get a weird reaction every time I tell someone, and I just I should have no shame, because it's a great movie.
Dumb and Dumber is up there too, and he's he's so funny. How about favorite food? What would you have on your last meal? You have to pick.
Popcorn. That was easy.
Popcorn. Buttered, like movie popcorn, or at home, or your own?
Any type of popcorn, but my dad makes me the best popcorn. He already knows the deal. Like, I literally could eat popcorn every night, but when I'm home for visiting or whatever, he makes me popcorn like every night. And when he's here, he makes me popcorn.
That is funny. That's no joke. I literally eat popcorn every night. It's
so good. And you know what? Tips and tricks, guys. It's a healthy snack. Not if you put a bunch of butter on it, but it's still pretty healthy.
True. Okay, we know you're a dog lover already. What kind of dog do you have?
I have a black lab. I would show him to you, but his bed's over there. I don't know where he is.
No, we get to see him sometimes on social, running around that. Is it like a canal you run on sometimes?
Yeah, Louie.
He's fast, by the way.
Dude, yeah, and he's a really fast digger. Actually, I took a video this morning. I didn't post it, but we were out there. So he's a lab. So labs like to carry stuff around. It's like their thing, whatever. And he carried around. He found an ornament, a Christmas ornament, and he carried it our whole walk for 30 minutes. And he just kept turning around and looking at me, wagging his tail, like, look what I got. It's trash. But it was trash. But and then he throws it around in the sand. That I'm sure people who've seen my social media, he has this big hole. He has excavated a whole hole on this route we walk along, this pond, and he was digging around and covering that ornament in sand and digging, and He's a lover boy. He's definitely, he's fun. He's 3
What?
and he
Yeah.
acts like he's about 6 months. So I'm like, I ask the vet all the time, like, when is he gonna turn into one of those dogs that just likes to lay down? She's like, I don't know. I'm like, great.
That's why they're dog ears. They're never gonna grow up. Yeah. So okay, another random question for you: unicorns or rainbows?
Rainbows.
Oh, interesting. And how about superstitions? I'm a former athlete. I feel like a lot of athletes have superstitions, and it could be for anything, like the way you wake up or the way you compete. Are there any superstitions or things you wear when you compete?
Honestly, I don't think I have any superstitions, but I know what you mean, because I used to wear like the same necklace, or I used to wear the same socks every time I competed, more so out of like they were the best socks that fit in the spikes.
Right.
But because I'm already so particular, I'll call it very particular. Probably everything I do is I have a slight superstition to it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome. So I didn't mention what event you do. Obviously, Laura Roesler is a U.S. Hopeful.
Mhm.
And are you going for the 800 meter?
Yes, I am.
Event, okay.
I do want to run some 1500s though, and PR. That's I don't. You'll never hear me probably say that ever again. Like, yeah, I want to run the mile, but
Yeah.
I think I could have a good crack at my PR. But the 800, yep, best event in track and field, as my coach likes to say. I know we're going to have some disagreements about that one, but it is.
Totally. Will we see you in indoors this year?
No, you won't. Yeah,
No indoors?
it's going to be a
Okay.
bummer. I'm going to be itching to be out there, but yeah, it's just too hard for me on my body, and
Yeah, totally.
That's okay. We got plenty of time. Outdoors will be here fast.
Well, where can people find you? What's your social media handle so they can follow you? If there's any listeners that.
Well, I only have Instagram. I used to have Twitter, but my Twitter got stolen. Hacked.
Smile. Speaking of that, it's going to go on mine.
Because I look so cute. You said the video was just for video. You weren't going to show anyone how cute I looked right now.
They won't see this video. They'll just hear the recording. So
okay. Well, I don't have Twitter, but I have Instagram. It's Roesler5. Just L. Okay. My last name is spelled
awesome.
Out 5. Yeah.
Well, thank you for joining me, Laura. Everyone, Laura Roesler, 800 meters, 2020 Olympic hopeful. I truly appreciate your time, and I truly appreciate the loyalty you've had to our brand, 2X Endurance, and we're super proud to have you.
Thank you for having me. I just love you guys. Thank you so much for all you do for me. And all the great products. I got lucky in 2014. Our paths crossed, and yeah, it's been a good journey.
Agreed. Ditto. Well, thank you, Laura. You have a great rest of your day.
You too. Thank you.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye.